"You are trying to buy a cat in the bag," was Padre Pio's answer. Clara was furious and stormed out of the church. You see, Clara had just asked Padre Pio if Dan Steele would be a good marriage partner for her. Is he Catholic? No. And that was how Padre Pio saw it. Later, when Clara had calmed down and thought about it, she saw Dan again. And Dan told her he had had an unusual experience. He was taking a walk outside, enjoying the fresh air, when suddenly he felt a strong urge, a very strong urge to convert to Catholicism. And he knew that it was something he just had to do. He felt God wanted it for him. He didn't even know, he wasn't even aware of their visit, Clara and her mother's visit to Padre Pio, or how annoyed Clara had become. Though it turned out that Dan's urge to become Catholic had happened about the same time when Clara and her mother were in St. Giovanni Rotondo speaking to Padre Pio. So is that just a coincidence? Anyway, so Dan and Clara got married, and it was now with Padre Pio's blessing, and they lived happily. A number of years later, this is in 1967, and now Dan and Clara had 7 children, and they had the opportunity again to go to St. Giovanni Rotondo to see Padre Pio. And they all attended Padre Pio's Mass. But this time there was a great burden on Clara's shoulders. I don't know what the burden was because they don't say in the book. And throughout Mass, Clara prayed that she would just be able to speak to Padre Pio again. And then she felt sure if she did that, then her burden would be lifted. However, as soon as Mass was over, Padre Pio went upstairs, as was his usual habit, to the monastery window. And as was his custom, he gave the blessing to everyone who was outside, to all the pilgrims outside. So of course Dan rushed outside, leaving Clara and the 6 children inside. So someone may ask, well, was Dan perhaps the 7th child? I don't know. But it wasn't what Clara had been praying for. And her opportunity to speak to Padre Pio was just not going to happen. And Clara's burden weighed heavily on her, and she just burst out into tears. So right there, still in the church with the children, and Clara was crying. But she suddenly looked up at the balcony in the church. And there she saw Padre Pio on the balcony. And her 12-year-old son, Bobby, said to her, "Mother, look how Padre Pio is staring at you." And rays of light were coming from Padre Pio's eyes. This is what the book says. And as Clara gazed at Padre Pio, the church and everything around her just seemed to disappear. And Clara felt such an intense joy. She felt like she was in heaven. Yet, at the same time, she could still hear Padre Pio greeting the crowds outside. And she could hear the clamor of the pilgrims outside. So how could it be? Padre Pio was still greeting the crowds outside. And yet at the same time, Clara was seeing Padre Pio on the balcony inside the church. Two totally different places, and her overwhelming experience to confirm it. Was it by location? Perhaps, we just don't know actually. Clara had prayed that her many burdens would be lifted. And when she returned to Germany, she found that all the exterior circumstances of her situation had not actually changed. But what had changed was she now felt a great sense of peace and renewed inner strength. Her burdens had not been lifted exteriorly, but had been lifted interiorly. And thanks be to God, through Jesus Christ and with the help of Padre Pio, Clara had received a spiritual healing.
In nome del Padre, del Figliolo e dello Spirito Santo, e così sia. Sia lodato Gesù e Maria, oggi e
If you're new to our channel and you have enjoyed or received something from this video, then why not subscribe to our channel? If you subscribe, there a bell will appear. Click on the bell and you will receive notifications of future videos. Also, there's a like button, that is the thumbs up. If you click on the thumbs up, then it will improve our ratings with YouTube. Also, if you would like, as a protected child of Padre Pio, we have special Friday Mass intentions for the protected children of Padre Pio. And the way to apply for this is that you would just go to our website, and if you click on the show more, which is just below, it gives it some instructions.
Apostolica